So I'm Grace. I work at a nonprofit called Leveling the Playing Field. So just a brief overview of what Leveling the Playing Field is. We collect, organize, and distribute athletic equipment to give out to lesser resource areas around Baltimore, DC, Philly, and then also all over the world. Like we've had Uganda lacrosse, world lacrosse, soccer organizations from Costa Rica, all over. So that all kids have the opportunity to play sports. So at the organization, there are only 7 full-time employees, although today I learned that they are actually hiring 1 more. So there will be 8 starting on April 28th, I think they said. Overseeing the warehouses, social media and communications, outreach programs. They sell and reallocate equipment, work with volunteers, and more. So Leveling the Playing Field relies very heavily on volunteers who donate their time to organize the equipment that's been brought into the warehouse. And just over the years, LPF has distributed over $8 million worth of equipment to beneficiaries in a number of places from Baltimore to Uganda, as I said before. And then they also work with other nonprofits and organizations, including professional sports organizations like the Ravens, Eagles, the Wizards, and a bunch of other teams as well. So why sports? Over the past few years and even more, the pay to play idea has become much more prevalent. So privatization of youth sports has led to a decline in public recreation and interscholastic athletics, and a rapid increase in registration fees across the board, which means that many kids who don't have the ability to pay for sports just don't get the chance to play them at all. Youth athletics contributes to a healthy mind and body, and also enhances childhood by giving them a sense of community outside of things like school. Just as one example, this is especially helpful to children who are living in households where their parents may not have the time or resources to create this kind of community for them outside of, again, just school or maybe their home environment. So our founder, Max Levitt, was an equipment manager at Syracuse University and saw all of the old equipment being thrown out year after year. And after seeing this, he thought what could be done with this equipment, and created Leveling the Playing Field out of his garage in 2013, until eventually growing to having 3 warehouses in Silver Springs, Baltimore, and most recently Philly, which was opened just last year in November. So a typical day at LPF, there is not a single day that I've done the exact same thing. Every Monday and Wednesday, beneficiaries come in and will pick up sports equipment. So if there's someone who hasn't been in the warehouse before, I'll have to show them around the entire thing, give them an overview about what we do, what we have to offer them. If they've been there before, it's a little bit easier. They kind of know what they're doing at this point. And basically so the warehouse is a warehouse collective where there's a bunch of different organizations in it. So we have our own section of it that is just filled with sports equipment, and beneficiaries can come in and take anything that they want. There's no cap on what they're allowed to take. We will offer them some special things if we feel they need it, if we have extra and things like that. But other than that, they're allowed to take anything. I've done a bunch of research, which I'll go into a little bit more later on in the PowerPoint. Organizing, not my favorite part of the job, but important because people need to be able to see where things are, need to be able to find where things are in the warehouse. I've completed pickups, so I'll go out to collection drives. I'll get to meet with the people that ran them. I'll pick up the equipment that they collected for us. And then I've worked on a few projects, which I'll also get into in a little bit. And then there are just some pictures. So some things about LPF that I didn't necessarily expect. A lot of business actually goes into the work of a nonprofit, which I guess makes sense. But for some reason, when I started, I was thinking like, this is for the kids and like, that's the most important thing. But so much of what is focused on there is actually numbers and things like that. So I was talking to Dr. Conradi about this last week. Like I'll go in and they're like, okay, we look at our numbers that we did last month, like we distributed this amount of equipment and brought in this amount, and this is how shows that we're doing really well. So that's kind of a bigger focus than I expected, I guess, before I got into the job. So another thing is friendships with beneficiaries can determine how they are treated. So like I was saying, if we feel that maybe they deserve some extra little like brand new equipment, let's say that we just got in, we'll like hide that away so that if it's someone that we're really, that the organization, I guess, is really close with or who's been coming in for a while, or a new beneficiary who's never been there, it's like, let's give them this extra stuff so they want to come back and they have a good experience with us. So like I said, equipment comes in all the time, but it can go out very differently. So again, we hide things, or there's like a bunch of different spaces that has all this extra equipment that isn't necessarily out for people to just take as they please. There's also a part of the organization called Gear for Good, which solely just sells equipment that's brought in. So if Vivian, who runs it, sees something that is new or she thinks can be worth a lot of money, she'll take that downstairs and she'll try to sell it online. There has been a big emphasis on girls' equipment versus boys' equipment. Like we have, so it's like everything is split up into like lacrosse, soccer, baseball, like all the sports, and it'll be like girls lacrosse cleats or boys lacrosse cleats, which the sizing of course is different and maybe the colors can be a little different, but when it comes to kids who need the equipment, is it really necessary for them to be split up by gender? I don't know. However, there's also been improvements, or we've been trying to make improvements on gender inequity in sports with things like the Sports Bra Project, where LPF actually combined with the Eagles and a few other organizations to get the biggest sports bra donation ever to the organization, so that we can then distribute it to girls who don't have sports bras in order to play. And that's just another hurdle that many people wouldn't even think of, to like not allow kids to get to play sports. So the workplace dynamic is kind of interesting. Everyone is really friendly and gets along super well, but there clearly is a boss. And despite it being a very collaborative space, she has the last say on everything. But that being said, everyone is able to work together really well and like to better the organization in the end. And then so everyone is really friendly and gets along super well, but they know when to be friends and when to be coworkers. Like they know that divide. So things I've achieved, as I said, I did a lot of research. One of the things that I'm proudest of is doing research on schools in Maryland who have not worked with LPF, and I've gotten to reach out to them and try to get them in so that they know we have these resources for them, whether it's teachers, social workers, sports, like coaches. So that was kind of cool. That was the first thing that I got to really do on my own. Talking to beneficiaries and running volunteer sessions on my own. I've gotten a lot of more freedom, like for example, like on Monday, I'll be there completely by myself, like no one else will be there with me. So every beneficiary that comes in, I'll be the one kind of running the show and giving them the tour, letting them know what we have, what we don't have, and things like that. Organization of the warehouse, again, not my favorite part of the job, but something that I am still going to be proud of because it took a lot of time and I thought it looked pretty good in the end. And then something that's coming up on April 17th is National Volunteer Week. This is another project that I just started this week. That's my little infographic part of it, at least, that I've created. We're gonna be highlighting National Volunteer Week because of the importance of volunteers for LPF. Again, like I said, we wouldn't be able to do any of the stuff that we do without people volunteering and giving their time to help us organize, help us get everything in check so that we can have this equipment and give it out to the people who need it. How I use my sociology, I think everyone said this so far, but using face. I use face in my job when I'm talking to beneficiaries and talking to my supervisor, but I also notice the ways that my coworkers use face when talking to people. Like I said, everyone's really friendly with each other, but then if someone from another organization comes in or a beneficiary comes in, it's like serious, not serious, like it's still like you're trying to be nice and friendly, but like very different vibes, I guess you could say. Research, I do a lot of research in my internship, as I said a few times, and I think sociology has really helped me in that. Just being able to use what I learned in research methods and other classes and doing research papers and stuff to utilize or to do that research as well as possible. Understanding relationships between coworkers and between employees and beneficiaries. I think it's easier for me to understand why their relationships are the way they are and how they're kind of going about those relationships in a way that other people without a sociology background wouldn't be able to see, especially when it comes to employees and beneficiaries. I think it's really clear for me to see like how one relationship is affecting what that beneficiary is getting, or like what's going on. I don't know if that makes sense. But anyway, I think it's just interesting for me to see like how those types of things work, and then understanding inequities people face within society. I think I kind of have a different like mindset going into this than maybe some of the other people who came in with business backgrounds or communications backgrounds. Like I was very focused on like the kids and what we're doing, what the ultimate goal is, unlike I think some of the other people who like I said before, are very focused on numbers and things like that. So that's just like a little bit, that was again very interesting and something that I'm going to kind of focus on my paper as well. How the business part of nonprofit can maybe jade the overall goal that they're trying to achieve. And then ways that my work at LPF has helped me grow. I'm definitely more confident in communicating with others, whether it's the beneficiaries that come in or coworkers. My ability to take charge and do things my own way in the workplace, whether that's my research, whether that's making infographics like that, or just as simple things like organizing. Like that's really something that I think I don't have to ask as many questions about. Like I can just really figure out like, okay, this is how I want to do it and I'm going to do it this way, you know? Realizing what I want in work. So while I think nonprofit is a way that I could continue going, I think that what I do is a little bit too behind the scenes for me, at least. I would like to see how the kids are really benefiting from all the stuff that LPF does, rather than doing the work for them to get the benefit, but not like seeing it play out, if that makes sense. Such as something I've realized for myself, but other people might feel differently. And then just I've realized some things that I'm good at, like organizing research, more creative projects, and then interacting with beneficiaries and stuff like that is something that I didn't think I was going to be as comfortable doing as I am now, as it comes towards the end of my time there. So
you started kind of like working alone with the beneficiaries a lot. Like I guess like how did you like that, or like did you start off doing that, or like kind of like gradually?
Yeah, so basically like I am the community outreach intern. I should have said that probably in there. So I knew that was going to be part of my job, but when it first came to it, I didn't really know how to go about communicating with them and showing them around and things like that by myself. I kind of would watch my boss do it, and he would here and there like let me go on my own a little bit, but it kind of took me like just seeing what he was doing and how he was kind of interacting with them to learn like how I would do it on my own. But I like doing that part a lot.